What's up, nerds? So today we're diving into the absolutely amazing Creature Commandos Season 1. Now, I gotta tell you, this show has some serious James Gunn energy. So buckle up, because we're taking a wild ride full of deep cuts, a surprisingly electric team, and plenty of, let's call it, vulgar humor. And trust me, it feels like a love letter to comic book fans who really know their stuff. And there's much more here to unpack. So let's break it down. So first of all, Creature Commandos hits the ground running with that signature Gunn style. Over the top action, quirky humor, and characters that have no business being this fun together. If you're a fan of his work on the Suicide Squad or Peacemaker like I am, then you're gonna love this. But honestly, even if you're not, you might still find something to appreciate. Sure, it's got that edgy, irreverent vibe, but underneath all the chaos, there's a surprisingly charming story about misfits trying to figure out their place in the world. I mean, seriously, Gunn knows how to make a ragtag group of anti-heroes work. Just look at his track record. Now let's talk about those deep cuts, because boy, are they deep. I mean, Creature Commandos is absolutely packed with Easter eggs. And for hardcore comic fans like myself, this is like hitting the jackpot. We get some absurd characters that I honestly didn't expect to see on screen. GI Robot, anyone? If you've ever read a Creature Commandos comic book, and granted, I haven't, but you know how rare it is to see these guys brought to life. The show makes you feel like you're in on the secret, like you're a part of a small club of nerds who are in on the know, you know? For example, that moment with Dr. Phosphorus. I mean, look, I saw it coming from a mile away, but it was still great. It's a character that's always been a bit underutilized, and seeing him here is such a strong role is a massive win. But it's not just the deep cuts that make this show stand out, right? The character work is top notch. Frankenstein, voiced by David Harbour, is an interesting mix of tragic and badass. He's the kind of character you can't help but feel for, and Harbour brings a level of depth that you wouldn't expect from an animated series like this. Similarly, the bride, voiced by Indira Varama, starts off a bit stiff, but by the end of the season, she absolutely owns it. The dynamic between the characters, especially Frankenstein and the bride, develops in an unexpected and really fun way. And for fans of these characters, like Rick Flag Sr., who's a bit of a Peacemaker spinoff in his own right, and there's a lot to love there. So speaking of the deep cuts and going back to that, I was particularly geeking out when I spotted a reference to characters like Amethyst. And no, it's not the one from Gem World, though for a second I thought it might be. And that was when the princess of Palakistan, which I had never heard of before, when she calls her main little guard guy and her men Amethyst Knights, because I thought that she was going to be Amethyst, the princess of Gem World. And I was like, man, that right there, James Gunn, is a deep cut. Because I was like, I've never heard of this princess of Palakistan before from the comic books. But so I was like, oh my God, if this is Amethyst from Gem World, that's really freaking good. Now, unfortunately, we didn't get that, which I was like, a little bit of a misstep in my opinion. But, maybe, just the fact that he mentioned it was really freaking cool. But this is the beauty of Gunn's approach, in my opinion. I mean, he takes these niche, obscure characters and makes them feel essential to the plot. Now, if you're a diehard DC fan, these references will hit you right in the feels. It's like getting a shout out from your favorite comic book. Now, Gunn definitely knows how to appeal to the most hardcore fans, and that's something I can totally respect and get behind. The animation, though, I gotta say, is awesome. It's not the Harley Quinn anime series style, thank goodness, but it does have a distinct charm. Now, the character designs are all over the place, from the more standard superhero flair to the absolutely insane. G.I. Robot has one of the most badass sequences in the entire series. The animation in that moment was top tier, and I'm talking about the part where he's gunning down, when he's up in the air and he's gunning down the sons of Themyscira. That was just a beautiful shot, and I was just like, the animation here, again, top tier. I was like so chef's kiss, and I don't like the term chef's kiss, so yeah, they did a great job there. And if you love well-executed action shots, you're going to find plenty to enjoy here. But it might take a minute to get used to the visual tone, which is one of the only criticisms I can really make, if any. I mean, the animation style might feel like it's still figuring out what it wants to be, but for me, it's found its groove and it's a lot of fun to watch. One thing I really appreciated was how the Creature Commandos balance the out there weirdness with some surprisingly grounded emotional moments. I mean, there's a surprising amount of heart here. The mystery at the core of the season keeps you hooked, about the princess and that vision. I was just totally like, what's going on here? And even though the tone fluctuates between absurdity and pathos, Gunn does a solid job of keeping everything moving forward without it feeling too forced. And the show might feel a little bit like Peacemaker at times, but that's not a bad thing because I personally like Peacemaker. I mean, there's a charm in how the characters' messed up backgrounds and bizarre personalities create this unexpected sense of camaraderie. And of course, no Creature Commandos review would be complete without mentioning the humor. As I said earlier, it's vulgar, it's crude, and it's definitely not for everyone. Now, if you're one of those people who's turned off by humor that goes for the jugular, this might not be your jam. But if you can stomach it, the jokes hit more often than they miss. And Gunn knows his audience, and he's not afraid to push the envelope. The humor is edgy, but it's got a surprising amount of warmth to its core. Even when things get dark or twisted, there's usually a joke right around the corner to lighten the mood. Now, let's be real for a second. Creature Commandos is not perfect. It does have its flaws. At times, it feels a little too self-indulgent, as if James Gunn made this show for himself and his diehard fans, but I personally appreciate it. The humor and the character choices sometimes push the boundaries of what's acceptable. And while some fans will love that, myself included, others will find it off-putting, That being said, it's hard to deny that Gunn's vision shines through. And if you're a fan of his previous work, like I am, I've loved everything that James Gunn has put out. I've said this a million times before, and I'll say it again. But if you're a fan of his previous work, you're probably going to appreciate what he's doing here, even if it's not always for the mainstream audience. And in the end, Creature Commandos is a wild, chaotic ride that's definitely worth checking out, you guys. It's a show made for comic book nerds who love deep cuts and off-the-beaten-path characters. I mean, the animation might not win everyone over, but the humor, action, and character work here are solid enough to keep you coming back, in my opinion. Now, whether or not this is the start of something bigger for the DCU remains to be seen. But if this is the tone that they're going for, I can't wait to see what's next. I absolutely loved this show, and I'm glad that it's getting a season 2. So that is my take on season 1 of Creature Commandos, you guys. Let me know what you guys thought about it. Did you enjoy the deep cuts as much as I did, or did they go a little too far down the rabbit hole for you? Also, tell me, who was your favorite Creature Commando teammate in this? Me personally, it was G.I. Robot. And then right after that, it was Nina. I really liked her a lot. Both those characters died. One came back, whatever. But tell me, what was your favorite Easter egg / deep cut? I tried to cover all of them. I did miss some, especially the amethyst one. And then I missed the professor lady that got killed by Clayface. I missed those. But yeah, let me know what you guys thought about this season. I just loved it. I can't wait for season 2 and what the mystery / mission is going to be there. All right, you guys, that is all I got for you. Go ahead and leave all your comments in that section down below. If you like this video, go and hit that like button. I won't mind. If you're new to my channel, please hit that subscribe button. I'd greatly appreciate it. And I will see you guys on my next review. You guys have a good day. Bye.